I know what everyone's saying. Is that Ryan Nelson back in the Beat the Bookie chair? Well, why, yes, it is. And as Jadakiss says, the champ is here. Now, I understand. Each card is a new card, so that's all I'm going to say about last year's performance. But one thing that we cannot go without mentioning, how about John Dales, my amigo taquito? I'm surprised he got enough cell service to make those picks, but I respect the bad man who just continues to be the second best Beat the Bookie host. His best read, how about Wake Forest helping him earn about 33 plus buckaroos on the day? The thing is, not everyone has the same success as the bad man. Look, we get it, Calvin. You used to produce the show that doesn't put you in the green. And Cameron, he's there. What are we doing here? We just let anyone spend the department's money now? That's enough of history. I already dropped that, Major. The seatbelt sign is on, so let's strap on in and let's get right to my big games of the week. The first game, it's obvious. Number 8 Tennessee and number 25 LSU down in the fake Death Valley. Tennessee is undefeated but holds very, very close with some teams that frankly I wish they didn't. Only a 5-point win over Florida. The line is 2.5 against LSU. That's why I'm still sticking with the Vols. This is a really easy reasoning for me. Tennessee will beat LSU by at least a field goal. That's simple. The Tigers have gotten better and better as the season goes on, but that's nothing compared to Hendon Hooker and the Volunteers offense. They just don't turn the ball over. LSU's offense doesn't scare me one bit. Joe Burrow ain't walking through that door. Fans in Baton Rouge will be disappointed yet again by Brian Kelly. That's the first thing that people from Indiana and Louisiana will have in common. I am high on Rocky Top, $15 on them. Our second big game doesn't mean as much because it's not in the SEC, but it's still a top 25 matchup. TCU and Kansas, game day in Lawrence. And can we please talk about the Jayhawks and their story? According to many talking heads out there, Kansas was a bottom 10 team in all of the FBS last year. But this season, top 20. That's a story we just love to hear here at CitrusTV. As for this game, I like Kansas +7. TCU is a good football team, don't get me wrong. I still think the Horned Frogs win this game, but it's a home game for Kansas. David Booth Kansas Memorial Stadium is a tough place to play at this time of year, and I love Jalen Daniels. He is a real Heisman candidate in my mind. He will rebound from an Iowa State game and show up at home. Okay, now for our final big game of the week, we go out to the West Coast, the worst coast of the United States. Fight me on that. Number 11 Utah at number 18 UCLA, another top 25 matchup, and I just really love Utah. The Utes are a better football team. -3.5 is an easy cover from the team from Salt Lake. UCLA beat the worst top 25 team in Washington last week and really thinks they're all that. They're not. How about you play a real defense like Utah, and we'll see how good DTR really is for the Bruins. Utah has enough firepower with Cameron Rising under center that this is really an easy $15 for me. So the producers of the show wanted to get in on the action as well at these big games, and oh my gosh, I could die laughing right now because that pick for TCU over Kansas, I cannot believe it. Kansas is a dang good football team. Braden Reed thinks they're dead. They are not. I appreciate them sticking with my Tennessee and Utah picks though, but overall, I don't like when the producers are siding with me because they're frankly not that good on the season. Now, you found out the predicts not to take that TCU game. How about we get to the ones that will make you some money? The first one is a battle between the Mormons and the Catholics in Las Vegas. Just like God intended, right? Let's stick to the football field though. Any line with this Notre Dame team is just so tough to pick. They could be world beaters or they could be the team that lost to Marshall at home. So that's why I don't pick the spread here. I like the over in this game for $10. BYU likes to score points. Notre Dame likes to score points. Neither plays particularly well on defense, so the over of 50.5 will hit. My next game is going back to my roots in the Midwest, Big Ten football between Michigan and Indiana. Everyone loves this Michigan team this year, but don't fall for Jim Harbaugh's trick. Instead, take my treat, Indiana plus 22.5. Before you kick me out of the studio, I hear them knocking. Hear me out. The Fighting Dawkins will not win this game. But the Hoosiers don't get blown out by teams this year. This game's also in Bloomington, the biggest game of the year for Indiana fans, and they will show up versus Michigan. And sometimes the Wolverines just lay a dud. 22.5 points is too juicy of a line for me not to take a $10 bill for that game. For another game I like, how about Florida State and NC State in the ACC? Why the Wolfpacks are only three-point favorites is absurd. NC State just lost to the best team in the ACC last week by only 10 points. Yes, the Seminoles are a good football team, but the Wolfpack are a great football team. I don't just like NC State at home by 3, I love them minus 9.5. Yes, a boosted line here for Beat the Bookie this season. I want value when this team destroys those boys from Florida State. $5 at almost 2-to-1 odds? Yes, please. My last game of the week, A&M and Bama. I'll keep this one pretty quick. Alabama is one of the best teams in the country. Texas A&M is not. The Aggies are going to lose by more than 25 points. It's just that simple. They lost by Mississippi State to 18 last week. The Crimson Tide are miles better than the Bulldogs. This should be a blowout. Oh yeah, it's at home for Bama too. Bryce Young might be back. I mean, this is just the recipe for disaster for A&M. Oh yeah, they just lost their starting quarterback. $5 is free money on Bama to cover. Now for my dog of the week, we're going to the Red River Showdown. Texas versus Oklahoma, and Texas is the favorite, so based on the name of this segment, you know who I'm taking, Oklahoma. Now look, I trust Brent Venables to get his defense into shape after what was frankly an embarrassing loss last week against TCU. Dylan Gabriel can still score points on the offensive side of the ball. Don't let 1 week against a good team skew your opinions too much on the Sooners. I like Oklahoma moneyline at plus 255. Now, I know what you're saying. Oh, Quinn Ewers is back. Yawn. We have my lock of the week now. The SEC, it just means more. This one means more money from me too. Ole Miss is playing against Vanderbilt. And now it's early in the season, and you know what that means. Everyone keeps hyping up the commies. Let's not forget, unlike Kansas, Vanderbilt is not back, and they never will be back when it comes to football. Ole Miss is minus 16.5. It's easy money right there. I love spending it so much. I'm spending a fifth of my budget on it. $20 for those Rebels to cover 16.5 points. For the last $5 I have to spend, I want to sprinkle some money on a parlay. It's a 4-legger for some value. James Madison will cover over Alabama State. The Dukes are for real, I promise you that. I also like the over in the Nebraska-Rutgers game. 51 points should be more than enough for even two middling Big Ten offenses. And now here, I'm just pulling a Jacob Morris. I'm taking Purdue money line because I feel like it. And how about some safe money now? Clemson to cover over the worst team in the ACC, Boston College. That's about $75 right there. Let's look at all the picks I have today, and honestly, I love my picks. Tennessee, Kansas, and Utah to cover those spreads. BYU, Notre Dame, take the over in that game. Those offenses like to score way too many points. It's in Las Vegas too. Everything's bigger in Vegas. Indiana will cover over Michigan. And when you look at the other lines in this, I like NC State at that boosted line. Alabama and Ole Miss to cover the spread. Oklahoma straight up money line. And then that parlay is going to make you some big money this weekend. As the sports director of this station, I am the one funding this show. Don't check the facts on that, we don't need to. I needed to get this studio back in the studio and really make sure that this station stays in the green for this season and beyond. Before I head out to enjoy some college football and watch the producers behind the scenes question how I continue to predict the future each and every time I come on this show, I want to thank everyone for watching. Have a happy and safe betting weekend, my friends.